The story starts off with a young man being detained by the police. The principal of Mihama Academy picks him up and drives him to school, where he is shown to his room in the dormitory. Upon entering the dorm, he is introduced to a fellow student, Sachi Komine, who is wearing a maid uniform. The following morning, he meets two more students, Amane Suo and Makina Irisu, and later meets another student, Michiru Matsushima. Once the class begins, he finds out that there is one more student in their class who is absent. Makina informs him that the absent student, Yumiko Sakaki, only comes in the evenings. When he comes to the classroom later that day to introduce himself, Yumiko tries to slash him with a box cutter. Later, Yuji receives a phone call from JB, who tells him that he has a job to do. The images during the end credits give hints of why all the girls except for Yumiko are enrolled in the school, as well as Yuji himself. Yumiko Sakaki makes continued attempts to cut Yuji, but to her frustration he avoids them all. Later that day he encounters Makina, who is quite shy, but after he helps her catch a crayfish, she warms up to him and decides to call him Oni-chan. He then visits the principal's office for advice on resolving Sakaki's continued hostility towards him. He finds out that all the other students have special circumstances for enrolling in the school. Yuji's guardian and work boss, JB, comes to pay him a visit at school, which stirs his classmates' curiosity, especially Amane, who wants to know whether Yuji has a girlfriend or not. Later that evening, in the dorm, he is ambushed by Yumiko once again, but is nearly taken by surprise, reflexively responding by knocking the knife from her hand and intimidating her with the display. He then tells her that he's not her enemy and intends to be her friend. From that day onwards, Yumiko's attitude toward him softened. The end credit montage shows how each of the other students arrived at the academy and how they became friends. Returning to the dorm after his morning jog, Yuji sees Amane picking the lock on his room and immediately suspects that she may be an assassin. He listens and watches from the doorway as, to his considerable surprise, all she wants to do is surprise him with a wake-up kiss. Yuji then makes himself known, much to Amane's considerable embarrassment. While rushing to class later that morning, he makes up a song for Makina in which he teases Amane for her earlier actions. At lunch, Amane expresses her concern that Makina is starting to imitate Yuji's mannerisms. That afternoon, Yuji overhears an erotic voice and discovers that it is Michiru, who is playing with a kitten. The following day, he inadvertently agrees to have Sachi make him a shark pouch, like Michiru's but only with glitter, though some quick thinking on Michiru's part allows him to foist the pouch on Makina. That afternoon, during gym, Amane hurts her ankle and Yuji carries her to the infirmary. After he treats her injury, Amane requests that Yuji be her boyfriend. When he refuses, she changes her request to be regarded as his older sister, which he agrees to. The next day, Amane and Makina share their lunch with Yuji and he realizes that he's been avoiding people since his master's death. During his morning jog, Yuji sees Michiru sitting on the grass with a cat on her lap, starting at the sea, and strikes up a conversation with her. The following evening, the residents of the dorm discuss Michiru's recent odd behavior. Later that night, Sachi, Yumiko, and Yuji witness Michiru as she stumbles out of the dorm, having gotten hair dye in her eyes and dripping it all over the floor. The next day, Amane asks Yuji and Yumiko if friendship between men and women is possible. When Michiru appears, she is also asked the same question and runs off after answering. Yuji goes after her and confronts her, stating that she is different from the Michiru he first came to know. The new personality converses with Yuji, then kisses him and reverts to the old personality. The next morning, Michiru asks Yuji to demonstrate what her other self had done to him the previous day, and she freaks out when he almost kisses her. She runs off to calm herself down and chases away her cat. Yuji finds her on the bluff looking for the cat, which she has named Nyamel. As they walk home together, Yuji notices something and tells her to go on without him. Ignoring his words, Michiru comes up and finds that Nyamel has been run over and is dying. Yuji hails a cab, but it's too late and Nyamel dies in Michiru's lap. Michiru is devastated by Nyamel's death and has taken a number of pills. Yuji tries to take her to the infirmary where she recovers. Sachi gives him a locked box that she received from Michiru. He opens it and finds an exchange diary that Michiru kept with her other self. When Yuji confronts her with it, she reveals that Michiru developed the other personality after receiving a heart transplant and that her original personality has hidden itself away and does not want to return. Yuji forces Michiru's original personality out, and she says that she wants to die. Yuji agrees to help her and he takes her to the bluff overlooking the ocean where she played with Meowmel, and buries her alive in a coffin. Trapped in the darkness, Michiru starts to hallucinate, and we see her past in a flashback. In middle school, Michiru became depressed because she was always being told she was a failure and intended to kill herself. On the roof of the school, she met another suicidal girl, and the two became close friends. However, the girl later killed herself in front of Michiru, which caused Michiru's weak heart to give way and led to her heart transplant. Michiru later discovered that the heart she received maintained its owner's original personality, with whom she was able to communicate. Back in the coffin, Michiru comes to the realization that she does not want to die anymore, and she pushes her way out of the coffin. Yuuji, who has waited 3 days for her to emerge, helps Michiru to the surface, and he carries her back to the dorm. Yuuji later takes the alternate Michiru to see her parents, and although she appears less often, she still resides in Michiru. In junior high school, Yumiko slashes the hand of a girl gossiping how she was the daughter of a mistress and was brought into her father's household only after her younger brother and family heir died. Yumiko's father wants her to assume her place as the heir to the Tohin Railway Group, and Yuuji is ordered to act as Yumiko's bodyguard and allow Yumiko to be abducted as to scare her into returning home. However, Yuuji decides to disobey orders and protect Yumiko. As they wait out a rainstorm under a bridge, Yumiko reveals her past to Yuuji. Angered by Yuuji's defiance of his orders, Yumiko's father plans to have Yumiko study in America and orders the shutting down of the school. Yumiko refuses to leave, prompting her father to come to the school and appeal to her in person. To his surprise, she opens fire on him with a gun and precipitates a standoff. When his men charge the building after her ammunition runs out, she pulls the pin on a grenade and seemingly kills herself. However, Yuuji had helped Yumiko fake her death. Yumiko is given a new identity, including a falsified family registry, and starts a new life as another student at the school. The next day, Michiru facetiously asks Sashi to make the upcoming test go away. Sachi locks herself in a room and starts preparing to blow up the school using time bombs. The night before the test, her classmates show up just after she starts the timers. Sachi tries to get them to leave, but to no avail. But as Sachi throws herself on the explosives, they fail to detonate. Yuuji shows up and has everyone except Sachi head back to the dorm. He tells her he tampered with the timers and calls her Sachan, revealing that he has remembered her. As a child, Sachi was lonely due to her parents being too busy running their business. Sachi had met Yuuji at the playground, and the two of them played together until he moved away. On Sachi's 10th birthday, her parents got into a traffic accident after Sachi ran away due to the previous months of neglect. Her father was killed and her mother has been in a coma ever since. Sachi reveals that she believes her parents were in the accident because she was selfish and that she has to be a good girl who does what she's told to make up for it. Yuuji refutes her by saying that the selfish whims she subjected him to when they played together helped him forget his own troubles at a time. To repay that debt, he covers up the disposal of her bombs with a fireworks display, and that weekend, he takes her to visit her parents' shop, where they find a birthday display and a letter. The day ends with Sachi visiting her mother in the hospital and then asking Yuuji for a hug. Makina sends Yuuji an email stating that he has now graduated from Onichan status to Papa status. When a confused Yuuji confronts her, Makina presents Yuuji with a check for 70 million yen, the entirety of her inheritance, so that he will act as her father. Reluctantly, he agrees, and proceeds to keep a close eye on her, to the envy of the other girls, especially Amane, who states that if Yuuji is her father, then she could just as easily be her mother. During a break from school, Yuuji takes Makina to his home in the mountains, where he used to live with his master. Later, by chance, Makina encounters her younger sister and Irisu heir, Serena, in town, but passes by without saying anything to her. To her horror, her sister's car explodes moments later. The shaken Makina is tended to by her classmates, and when she wakes up, Yuuji informs her that her sister was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. That evening, Yuuji is called in to work, where JB presents him with a dossier for his next job, and the target is Makina. Yuuji takes the job JB gave him, but only so that he can protect her. To do so, he and Makina leave the academy so as to prevent a moving target, and Sachi gives Makina an apple sapling as a parting gift. The efforts of the organization to get a hold of Makina are fruitless as Yuuji is able to dispose of every single agent sent after them. It is revealed that a few years earlier, Makina's father found evidence of the Irisu group's corruption, and was killed in front of Makina on his wife's orders. Makina spent a number of years in a hospital recovering from the trauma. It is further revealed that she has a near photogenic memory, and had read some of the incriminating documents before her father's death. It turns out that Makina's mother ordered the hit on Makina because she phoned her mother and threatened to reveal the corruption unless her younger sister was kept safe. When their latest hideout is compromised, Yuuji manages to get them away, but Makina forgets her sapling. Despite Yuuji's admonition to forget about it, Makina returns to the hotel to search for it and is shot. Yuuji shows up in time to take her to the hospital but is intercepted by JB. In the hospital, Makina's mother shows up and, to JB's horror and disgust, asks if Makina's internal organs are unharmed because Sarina is in need of an organ transplant. Later, a disguised Yuuji shows up at the Irisu Group's HQ and shoots Makina's mother. With the contractor for the hit out of the picture and with hard evidence of the Irisu Group's corruption in the hands of the organization, Yuuji and a recovering Makina return to the academy. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you in the next one.